Good afternoon. Welcome to the SMC Promise Information Seminar. My name is Josh Casillas. I'm a student onboarding specialist at the Welcome Center. The Welcome Center is located on the main campus at the SSC building, first floor. I am here with my colleagues. Feel free to introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Adrienne Johnson, and I'm a student services assistant here at the Welcome Center.
Hi there, I'm Ariana McCall. I'm a student worker here at the Welcome Center as well, and I also work for SMC Promise.
Nice. Thank you, everybody. So let's get started here with these slides. Maybe somewhere. Here we go. All right, information seminar agenda. We have gone into the introduction, so we all know who we are. What is SMCP? We abbreviate SMC Promise to SMCP, which makes it easier. Check in your SMCP status, program requirements, benefits, how to regain eligibility, special consideration, and once again, the Q&A portion of this seminar. First half of the seminar, we're going to go over slides. We'll go over all the information. If you have any questions, at the end of the slideshow, you can ask your questions via chat or raise your hand, and we will call on you one at a time. What is SMC Promise? Let's go into that. It's the main concept here. SMC Promise Program, the Santa Monica College Promise Program, or SMCP, potentially provides up to 2 years of free college for recent California high school GED graduates who are directly attending SMC as a first-year college student with the potential to also qualify for other benefits. The students must meet the basic eligibility criteria, opt in, and then complete the SMC Promise requirements. We will go into detail in future slides in regards to that. All of our information for SMC Promise is located on our SMC Promise website, which includes the basic eligibility criteria. SMC Promise basic eligibility criteria. Fancy that. We went on into that. So the SMC Promise basic eligibility criteria are the following in these bullet points. You must have graduated from a private, or public or private California high school with a GED in 2025. You must be a California resident or an AB 540 student. You're attending SMC as a first-year college student and you've never attended college before. Now, if that's the case, you would receive this message, which is the icon down below. It would prompt you to opt in if you're meeting the basic eligibility criteria. If for some reason you're not meeting the basic eligibility criteria and you do not get prompted to opt in, this screen doesn't come up on your SMC Promise Coursera Connect, is where it's located. You can always email us, welcomecenter@smc.edu, so we can look at your file and potentially get you in via special consideration, and that's something we will discuss at the end of this slideshow. So this is extremely important. Check in your Coursera Connect SMC Promise eligibility. All your information for your SMC Promise is located on your Coursera Connect. I would recommend you go on there and become familiar with it. It is real time and it provides you all the information on there. There are two things that do take 24 hours to populate. Usually it's a fee postponement and or a SMC Promise book voucher. So let's get started. Coursera Connect, SMC Promise opt-in join. So when you're meet the basic eligibility criteria, this is what it will look like. Let's say I'm logging into my Coursera Connect. I'm meeting the basic eligibility criteria. I'm eligible for SMC Promise. The first step is to click on that and read over the information and opt in or join. And that's basically it. So there are some information before you opt in or join. It'll explain what the requirements are that you have to meet in order to receive benefits. That's the screen you'll first get. Most of you have opted in. There are some students that haven't. But once you opt into SMC Promise, there are two areas where you can check your SMC Promise. It's on Coursera Connect. You can focus on the left arrow. We're on the index where it says SMC Promise. You can click on that, or you can click on the bottom right gray box where it says check status, where the big yellow arrow is on the bottom right. Those are two ways you can check your SMC Promise eligibility. So this is Coursera Connect for a student that is eligible. Let's say this is for me. You have three indicators under your SMC Promise eligibility. We're focusing on the yellow arrow on that column. The first indicator is a green or yellow box. Green check mark means you're meeting or you're eligible. The next icon is, not icon, but display will be eligible. You get an eligible, incomplete, ineligible, or complete or incomplete. So those are the different things that will populate there. And the most important one here is usually the sentence is provided there, usually one or two sentences for this student, which is, say myself, I'm eligible for this fall 2025, but I still need to complete and maintain the requirements below to receive benefits. And it's telling me that I'm currently responsible for my enrollment and student fees, which basically I'm responsible for my classes and the student fees, which is like ASB, associated with student body fees, which includes health and things of that nature. As you can see down below, the two requirements are listed there: financial aid and enrolled units. So this is for me, being a student that is eligible. That's the first part or step that I'm going to be looking at. This is for a student that's ineligible. So this student was part of SMC Promise. We're focused on the yellow arrow. Once again, you get the three areas that indicate your status. This student is a red box with a white X. They're ineligible. This student is no longer eligible for fall because they fell out fall 2025, excuse me, because they fell out last fall 2024. And the student currently owes their enrollment and student fees. They may qualify to regain eligibility. If you have any questions, click on that, contact the Welcome Center. So we will go into regain eligibility and a couple of examples further down on these slides. SMC Promise Program requirements. So there's basically, once you're eligible and opted in, there's two requirements that you need to complete. The first one is financial aid. You just need to apply for financial aid. You don't need to qualify for financial aid. You need to apply for financial aid. And the second one is you need to enroll in your unit requirement. Most students' unit requirement is 12 units, okay? There are some students that have a unit reduction, or they call it RCL, reduced course load, whereas their full-time requirement may be less than 12 units. Example, 6 units. We'll go into that in a future slide. Two requirements. Let's talk about the first one. So the first one is the financial aid. You don't have to qualify for financial aid, but you do have to fill one out for the SMC Promise if you want to meet the requirements. So the school code there is for FAFSA. The DREAM Act application code is there also. They're very similar, just be aware of that. Or when you apply for FAFSA or DREAM Act, you can also just type in Santa Monica College. That means that when you fill it out, your information is going to go to Santa Monica College Financial Aid Office. Very important to fill that out, okay, correctly. FAFSA or DREAM Act application must be completed annually prior to the beginning of the student's first semester of attendance of the new academic year to qualify for the SMC Promise benefits. Basically, what that's telling you is before you attend, let's say this fall semester, you're going to need to have your financial aid requirement in. Same thing would be for next spring, right? Or in next fall and next spring. That would be indication of 2 years, right? In order to become eligible for a California College Promise Grant, or we call it a CCPG fee waiver, students must qualify through their FAFSA DREAM Act application. So what happens is when you submit a FAFSA or your DREAM Act application, the SMC Financial Aid Office, when they receive your financial aid information, they automatically review your file to determine if you also qualify for a fee waiver. A fee waiver automatically pays for your enrollment fees, which are your classes. When you're filling out your application, for your FAFSA or DREAM Act application, you must be aware and be sure when you fill it out exactly the same way as it is in your application that you submitted to just attend SMC, right? It has to be the same name, same last name. If you have a social security number, it has to be the same social security number and date of birth. If any of those are different, then they're not going to match, and SMC Financial Aid Office is not going to be able to upload your information, and it arises to some problems. Is there anything you'd like to add to this, AJ?
Yes. So I've seen a lot of students, they come to the office and they say, I filled out my financial aid application. So it should usually take about 3 to 5 business days. So if there's anyone here today who filled out their financial aid application, but when you log into Coursera Connect, it's not, it's showing incomplete, please reach out to the financial aid office, and then also log on to the government website for FAFSA or the DREAM Act and make sure that you do have all the information, the school code, make sure you do have your social security number, because this can hold up us from receiving your financial aid application. So just be sure to check that. Again, if it's been more than 3 to 5 business days, excluding Saturday and Sunday, please come to the financial aid office as soon as possible.
Thank you, Adrian. Great information there. I did want to add one thing. When you do complete your FAFSA or GMAT application, you do want to complete it once a year. You want to complete it before March 2nd every year. What transpires is if you complete it before March 2nd, there's another grant called Cal Grant that you may potentially qualify for through the financial aid process. If you complete it before March 2nd, let's say this upcoming March 2nd, I complete it, that's going to carry over to next fall and spring semesters. You do it once a year, it's received early, and then you eliminate a lot of problems for yourself. So this is what it looks like if we're focusing on a student who is eligible and has opted in. We're focusing on the yellow arrow, which is the column of financial aid. As you can see, there's a red icon. It says incomplete, and then it says complete your FAFSA or GMAT application before October 26th, 2025. That's the SMC Promise requirement deadline. Remember that date, October 26th, 2025. We must receive your financial aid. And of course, we'll go on further to tell you that you're going to need to be enrolled in your unit requirement by that date. Okay, so this student, as you can see on that column, is missing the financial aid requirement. Okay, so once it's completed, this is what it'll look like. It will say on the yellow arrow, we're focusing on that column. Once again, it will say completed. That box now is green. Santa Monica College has received your financial aid application. Once again, you only need to apply for your FAFSA or DREAM Act application once a year, preferably before March 2nd every year. It will carry on to the future fall and spring semesters. Okay, so that's what it'll look like if SMC financial aid has received your financial aid requirement. All right, we're going to discuss the SMC Promise unit requirement. A student must enroll in 12 units or their DSPS unit reduction or RCL by the SMC Promise requirement deadline and complete your units with passing grades. Passing grades are A, B, C, D, or P for pass for the eligibility to auto roll over to the future spring 2026 semester. Okay, pretty straightforward there. This is really important. The summer and winter short-term semesters are optional to attend. And if you do decide to attend, you must meet and complete the SMC Promise requirements to receive benefits. So when it comes to SMC Promise, your eligibility goes from fall to spring. Okay? Fall to spring. You do not need to attend the summer or winter. If you do decide to attend the summer or the winter short-term semesters, most students are not going to be able to enroll in 12 units in those short-term semesters. The maximum amount of units you can enroll into is 8 units, okay? So there are some students who have a unit reduction or DSPS unit reduction RCL, whereas they meet with their DSPS counselor or they're part of the DSPS counseling or Center for Students with Disabilities. They speak to them and they determine if their full-time requirement is example 6 units or 9 units or 3 units, whatever it may be. If they do state that, then they send us information. We populate it on the Coursera Connect and in the system, and it reflects on your Coursera Connect SMC Promise. So what I'm getting at is there are some students that may qualify for the short-term summer and winter semesters because the maximum amount of units you can enroll in is 8 units. If you have a 6 unit, for example, unit requirement, you will qualify for the benefits during the short-term semesters, but keep in mind, you also have to meet your financial aid requirement, okay? If for some reason you don't meet the SMC Promise requirements during the short-term semesters and you do decide to attend, you're gonna have to pay out of pocket, okay? If you do attend and you have a fee waiver, we'll talk about that, a CCPG fee waiver, at least the fee waiver through the financial aid process, at least that fee waiver will pay for your enrollment fees, but you will still have to pay out of pocket for student fees and your books. Once again, students requiring a unit reduction or RCL can make an appointment with the Center for Students with Disabilities, the SPS office, and the website information is there. Okay. Anything you'd like to add to this, Adrian?
Yes, I just want to stress, even if you are part of the DSPS program, it won't automatically adjust your unit. So you do have to make that appointment, speak with your counselor. They'll add your name to a list, and then we'll go on the back end and we'll adjust those units accordingly.
Thank you, AJ. Yes, they will have to determine what your unit requirement is. You can't just say I'm part of DSPS and you qualify a unit reduction. It doesn't work that way. As AJ pointed out, you do have to meet with their counselor to have that implemented. So we're going to look at a student who their unit requirement is incomplete. This is the same student, they're still eligible, their financial aid has been received and completed. We're focused on the yellow arrow column. Once again, they have the icon is red box, incomplete. This student is currently enrolled 11 out of the required 12 units. It tells you right there. Please enroll in the required number of units by October 26, 2025 and complete with passing grades. Once again, that's that requirement deadline on October 26, 2025. You need to have both of your requirements completed, met and completed by that date, okay? So this student is not enrolled in their unit requirement of 12 units, okay? So once the student does enroll, bam, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at the yellow arrow still in the units enrolled column. You are currently enrolled in 15 out of 12 units. Please enroll in the required number of units by October 26th and complete with passing grades. That just reiterates the information to make sure you are enrolled in those units by that date and time. That's when SMC Promise actually pays out. So if you're not enrolled, or you're not meeting either of the requirements, financial aid, or once again, enrolled in your unit requirement by that date and time, you're going to have to pay for the fees for, we're talking about this fall semester, right? For fall 2025. And that goes for all the semesters, right? Each semester has a requirement deadline. Fall, spring does, right? So does a short term, but we're focusing on this fall right now. This student, as you can see, they're enrolled 15 units out of the required 12 units. If you're enrolled in more units than your unit requirement, SMC Promise will cover it so long as you're meeting both requirements. So what transpires next, if we're going to focus on the blue arrow up top, you get a SMC Promise badge. So once you get that badge, you know you're set and you're meeting both requirements. It's that blue badge with the yellow and the green check mark says SMCP in the middle. And once again, if you look at the message up top, it gives you congratulations, you're meeting the requirements for fall 2025. You do not owe any fees so long as you complete your required units with passing grades. And then what also transpires is this student currently has a fee postponement until December 23rd, 2025. What that means is you currently now have a fee postponement for this semester, okay? You don't have to worry about fees. We usually encourage students to, if you're eligible and you're eligible for SMC Promise, you've opted in, and there's a payment deadline. For example, for fall, this payment deadline that passed was August 5th, I believe. If you you ideally want to meet your requirements before that date, so you don't have to pay out of pocket, right? We will discuss in the future about a refund, but this is what you're looking at here, okay? This is the information that's on your Coursera Connect. So what we're going to look at it here is basically very similar. We're focused on the yellow arrow. This is for a student that has a unit reduction or an RCL. They're part of the Center for Students with Disabilities. Once again, it says completed, green icon. You're currently enrolled in 6 out of the required 6 units. So this has been adjusted, right? So once again, this student can take more than 6 units, but their minimum requirement is 6 units. And it stays to stay enrolled by October 26, 2025 and complete with passing grades. If you complete with passing grades, your SMC Promise rolls over to the next spring semester. We're looking at the blue arrow again. The icon is there. That means they're meeting the requirements. It states that they don't owe any fees so long as they're required units and passing grades. For this student here, the difference that shows up here is they qualify for an SMC Promise book voucher, and it also indicates, once again, that they have a fee postponement. So all your information up to date is going to be on your Coursera Connect SMC Promise. Log on, become very familiar with it. It's very helpful. Okay, it's up to date, except for fee postponements and book vouchers. They take 24 hours to populate on your Coursera Connect. All right, SMC Promise benefits. This is basically the whole, woo, look, it's all happy. This is basically all the nuts and bolts, right? It's the pretty much the basics. SMC Promise benefits. In order to receive the SMC Promise benefits, students must meet their requirements by the SMC Promise requirement deadline for this fall. Yes, we all know it is October 26, 2025. The following are the benefits that you're going to receive. Number one, your current enrollment and student fees would be paid. So let's say by October 26th, you're enrolled in your unit requirement. Let's say my unit requirement is 12 units. As an example here, it's approximately $600, right? That's a lot of money for you to pay out, or your parents or your parent, legal guardians, etc. That's a lot of money. So if you're meeting your requirements, it not only pays for your enrollment fees, where it basically means your classes, it also pays for your student fees, which is ASB fees, health fees, and things of that nature. That's all encapsulated in health fees. Okay. You receive a fee postponement for the current semester and then the future terms. So when you get that badge that we're looking at there, I put it up there on that slide. When you get that badge on your Coursera Connect, when you're meeting the requirements, you will receive a fee postponement that by that night. Okay. Usually sometimes 24 hours, but usually by that night, midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning the next day, you get a fee postponement. So it protects you for this semester, right? And what also happens if you meet the requirements by, yes, we know, October 26, 2025, you get a fee postponement for the future spring 2026 semester. Okay, that's really important. Why? Because during this fall, sometime around early November, you'll get an email or on your Coursera Connect for spring semester, you'll have your enrollment date and time to enroll in classes. So that means during this fall semester, you'll be able to enroll in your future spring semester courses. If you have a fee postponement for the future semester courses, that means you can enroll in them and you won't have to worry about any payment deadline for that future semester. You will not get dropped. It gives you that security about when you meet the SMC Promise requirement deadline. And here's one of the most important things also, you get priority enrollment for the future term. So you will be able to enroll on the first day of enrollment. And we know how fast classes fill up at SMC. So you'll have priority. You'll be allowed to enroll in those classes. You'll be able to speak to your special program counselor or an academic counselor, general counselor, and really hash out what classes you want to enroll based on your academic and personal goals, and then enroll in those classes. You'll have the best schedule you can want and be able to succeed because you're comfortable with that. Also, you get a potential refund. So what does this mean? Let's say I'm a student. I'm eligible for SMC Promise. I opted in. I'm enrolled in my unit requirement. My unit requirement is 12 units, right? But I haven't submitted my FAFSA, and the payment deadline for this fall, let's say it was August 5th, and I didn't want to get dropped from my classes, so I had to pay out of pocket because I was missing my financial aid requirement. So I paid out of pocket, but after a week later, I completed my financial aid. SMC financial aid office received it. Now I'm meeting both requirements. If I meet both of my requirements through, once again, the requirement deadline for this fall semester of October 26, 2025, I will be issued a refund, okay? You can apply for Bank Mobile, and through Bank Mobile, it's electronic refund that will be accessed to you, or you can opt to have it mailed. That usually happens towards the end of the semester, okay? Other SMC Promise benefits, you get up to $3,000 in book vouchers. You have to be an SMC Promise and meeting the requirements and also receiving a CCPG fee waiver via the financial aid office to receive a book voucher. You get reduced parking pass from $50 to $18, must be also receiving a CCPG fee waiver. Get a complimentary Go Pass Metro tap card for the current semester. And one of the main benefits is your second year SMC Promise will automatically roll over as long as you meet and complete the requirements with passing grades. So you don't have to worry about the future spring semester. Hopefully that makes sense. That's the nitty gritty of it.
And if I could just add really quickly,
Yes.
regarding the tap card. So when you log into Coursera Connect on your fees and assessment page, you can opt out of some of those fees. Do not opt out of it because it's one of the benefits of SMC Promise. We will cover the cost of your tap card. I had a student today, they opted out and they weren't able to access their code for the tap card. So again, you can don't opt out of those fees. We will take care of it as long as you're meeting the requirements by October 26, 2025. And again, and with the book vouchers, we don't have access to your Slingshot account, which is the third-party company that we're distributing books or that we've partnered with. So you would have to go directly to Slingshot to get your balance for your book vouchers.
Thank you, Adrian. Great information there. And the fee she's speaking about is your student fees. If SMC Promise is going to pay for your student fees, don't opt out of it because you're going to miss out on some of the benefits. All right, let's move on here. We did talk about I'm not going to say it anymore, but I will, California College Promise Grant. I don't like saying that because it confuses it with the SMC Promise. So we call it, once again, a CCPG fee waiver. It used to be called the BOG, Board of Governors fee waiver. We will call it a CCPG fee waiver. It covers enrollment fees only and is processed via the financial aid office. There's qualifications based on California residency, AB 540 status, government benefits, income, and or your submitted FAFSA DREAM Act application. Okay, those are several ways you can apply for one. If you're getting benefits from the government or your parents, legal guardian, etc., or income, or if you just submit your FAFSA and DREAM Act application, they're going to review it and process one and to see if you qualify, if you do or not. And that's the easiest way to usually go about it. The CCPG fee waiver pays for your enrollment fees, which means it's your classes. It's usually covered for an entire academic year. It all depends on when you receive that CCPG fee waiver. So for example, let's say March 2nd, last March 2nd, 2025, which was last spring, I was enrolled. I completed my FAFSA for this upcoming fall and spring semester, and I qualify for a CCPG fee waiver. The academic year is summer, fall, winter, spring. So this past summer would have been covered. We're currently in fall, and then winter and spring. What's good about it about the CCPG is not only does it cover your classes, that it can be accessed or it's automatically there. And if you do decide to attend the optional short-term summer or winter semesters, and you're not going to be able to meet the SMC Promise unit requirement of 12 units, that will at least pay for your enrollment fees if you do decide to attend the short-term semesters, okay? There is no unit minimum or requirement like the SMC Promise. You can enroll in half a unit, you can enroll in 18 units, or however many units you can enroll, it'll still pay for your enrollment fees. It does not cover student fees, okay? The difference between the CCPG fee waiver and the SMC Promise, the CCPG fee waiver is based on income, right? On financial aid, income, and need. The SMC Promise is not dependent on financial need, and it covers both enrollment fees and student fees potentially for up to 2 years. For the SMC Promise, we don't care about financial need. Whether you don't need it or you do, SMC Promise will cover anyways. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, SMC Promise book voucher must be eligible, opted in, meeting all SMCP requirements, and also receiving a CCPG fee waiver. The basic formula is there. SMC Promise plus CCPG equals SMC Promise book voucher. You must receive both to get a book voucher. It's up to $3,000 for each academic year. And the way it's broken down is $1,000 for fall, $1,000 for spring, but you have to meet the requirements, of course, for each fall and spring. If you do decide to attend the short-term semesters and you do qualify, whereas let's say I'm part of the DSPS program and my full-time unit requirement is 6 units, I would qualify for $500 for summer and $500 for winter. Once again, those short-term semesters are optional to attend. You can only get your SMC Promise book voucher, and it is automatically issued via the Slingshot program. Our information is there for Slingshot. It's on our webpage. All of this information is on our SMC Promise webpage. It is also on the bookstore webpage. It gives you the information. Basically, you can log in. There's several radials. You can opt to have the books sent to your address or directly to the SMC bookstore on the main campus. I would opt to send it to my books directly to the SMC bookstore, because while I'm there, I can also apply my my book voucher to materials and supplies, right? It also covers materials and supplies, right? If you need a chart, chemistry chart, if you need pencils, pens, once again, the periodic table, ruler, SMC Promise book voucher will also cover that, but it can all be covered in person at the SMC bookstore. You get a potential refund only if you bought your books through the Slingshot program before you knew your SMC Promise book voucher eligible. Let's say you bought them online through the Slingshot program, you paid out of pocket. If that's the case, you have receipts and history, you contact the SMC bookstore and they will potentially give you a refund. Anything you'd like to add to this, AJ?
I do. So
Yes.
I've had some students, they have to purchase some sort of, maybe it's like an ebook, but it's not through Slingshot. For that, you will have to pay out of pocket. The book voucher will only cover textbooks, any type of books. Oh my goodness, what am I going to say?
Electronic
I
books.
lost it, right.
Awesome.
I lost my train of thought. But yeah, it can only be used through Slingshot. If you have to buy any textbook, ebook outside of Slingshot, unfortunately, you will have to pay out of pocket and you cannot get refunded for that.
Thank you, AJ. Very important information. So you'd have to buy your stuff through Slingshot. If you go outside of that, to recap, you will not get a refund, or you cannot use your SMC Promise book voucher outside of that website. Thank you, AJ. Very important information. All right, so this is for a student who is eligible for SMC Promise book voucher. We did see in one of the beginning slides a student. We're focused on the student that qualified for a book voucher. We're focusing on the blue arrow. They get the badge. We call it the blue, yellow, and green check mark. SMCP. It tells them right there. It tells you, congratulations, you're part of fall. You don't owe any fees so long as you meet the requirement with passing grades. You also qualify for a book voucher. And then if you scroll down, it gives you the information here. There's two great things here. First, we're going to focus on the yellow arrow. So it's under the SMC Promise book voucher. Once again, we're following the icons, green check and the check mark eligible. You qualify for SMC Promise book voucher at the SMC bookstore during the following periods. So if you do, you can only access it at that Slingshot website during those periods, okay, during those dates. And also, if you qualify for a refund, you can only get the refund during those dates. When it comes to the book voucher, you can only use it during those dates, and it will not roll over into a future semester, okay? So they're limited to that date. What is also great about this that we've added here on the CCPG fee waiver, above that, above the yellow arrow where says CCPG fee waiver, once again, it gives you information. It tells you you qualify for a CCPG fee waiver on there. You can directly go to SMC Promise, Coursera Connect, and see if you qualify for a fee waiver. If you were not qualified for one, that check mark would be red. And then in addition, below that, the check mark would be also red because you need to have SMC Promise and a fee waiver to qualify for an SMC Promise book voucher. Anything you'd like to add to this, AJ?
Or yeah, or maybe, yeah, so take some time, log into Coursera Connect and just make sure that everything is green. If there's anything red, it either means it's incomplete. And I just wanted to state that not every single eligible SMC Promise student will qualify for a book voucher. So check your Coursera Connect.
That is correct. These two icons would be red. Thank you, AJ. Appreciate that. All right, how to regain eligibility. This is for a student that falls out. You don't meet the requirements, whether there's financial aid or you're not enrolled in a unit requirement by that requirement deadline for this fall, October 26th. You're going to fall out, no fees for the current semester. How to regain eligibility. Let's go forward with this. So the basics of regain eligibility. Any student who has opted in and is still within their 2 years of SMC Promise eligibility and has fallen out only needs to enroll in their unit requirement for the future semester prior to the semester-specific requirement deadline to regain eligibility. Okay, students must still meet both financial aid and unit requirements to receive benefits of the SMC Promise in the future semester if they do regain eligibility. Pretty straightforward. This information is once again on our webpage. Also, the examples that we're going to go into is on our webpage. Excuse me. Basically, what it's saying is, let's say you fall out. Let's say I'm not enrolled or I didn't meet my financial aid requirement this October 26, 2025. I'm going to fall out. I'm going to owe fees for this semester. I'm going to fall out for the future spring 2026 semester. All I have to do is enroll my 12 units. That's my unit requirement for the future spring. I automatically regain eligibility. Once again, I do have to complete my financial aid for the future spring semester and make sure it's on file and enroll my units to get regain eligibility. Pretty simple and straightforward. Let's look at example one. Students enrolled in a unit requirement of 12 units for the fall 2025 semester to the requirement deadline. Yes, we know that date. At the end of the semester, the student does not complete 12 units with passing grades. Okay. The student will fall out at the end of the semester. But the good thing is, if I met the requirements on October 26th, my fees are paid for this fall semester, right? I don't have to pay for that. I get a fee postponement for the future semester. All I have to do is enroll in 12 units before the new requirement deadline for the spring, which is April 20th, 2026, and I'll automatically regain eligibility. It's that simple. That's all you have to do. But once again, make sure your financial aid requirement is met in the spring semester. Very simple, very straightforward, okay? Example number two, the student is not enrolled in the unit requirement of 12 units for this fall 2025 semester at the requirement deadline of October 26, 2025. At that date, I wasn't enrolled in 12 units. Let's say I was enrolled in 9. I will fall out of the SMC Promise for this fall semester. I will owe my fees for this fall semester. Unless I have a CCPG fee waiver, that will at least pay for my classes, my enrollment fees. But I will have to pay out of pocket for my student fees, right? So that is the difference between example 1 and example 2. I was not enrolled in my unit requirement 12 units, or it could also be I didn't have my financial aid on file by that date, October 26th. So it can be both or either or. All right. All I would have to do is enroll in 12 units or have my for the future spring 2026 semester prior to that requirement deadline for the spring of April 20th, and I would automatically regain eligibility for the future spring semester 2026. It is that simple. The difference between example 1 and example 2 is that October 26th deadline. In the first example, I met my unit requirement on that date, so I received the benefits for that fall semester. But then I didn't pass a class, but I could regain eligibility, right? So for this example, is I filed out right away at the requirement deadline of October 26th. I have to pay for my fees, right? So and I don't get a fee postponement for the spring semester, right? So those are the drawbacks there of those two examples. The next two examples are for a student who has a unit reduction or an RCL, reduced course load. This student is part of the DSPS program. This example number 3 is similar to example number 1. The only thing is, let's say I'm a student for DSPS, my unit requirement is 6. I'm enrolled in 6 units through the requirement deadline of October 26th. At the end of the semester, I did not complete 6 units with passing grades. After the semester, that means I'm not going to receive eligibility for the future spring semester. That means I fell out. But at least if I met the requirements, right, once again, for this fall semester, my fees are paid and I get a fee postponement for the future semester. So I'm going to be enrolling for spring semester during the middle of the fall semester, right? So it's very important. You need to discuss with a counselor, your program specialist counselor, to determine if you want to keep your units and then drop after the requirement deadline so you won't have to pay for your fees, or drop before so you can avoid a W, but then you have to pay for fees. So that's kind of what you're weighing at the requirement deadline. So moving forward, this student then enrolls in their unit requirement of 6 units for the spring prior to April 20th and automatically regain eligibility for the future spring semester, okay? Example number 4 is very similar to example number 2. This is for me, for example, I'm part of the DSPS program. My unit requirement is 6 units. I'm not enrolled in 6 units during the fall at the requirement deadline, okay? I don't want to get, let's say, a W in one of my classes, so I drop it and it doesn't count. But now I have to pay for my fees for this fall semester. I don't get a fee postponement for the future spring semester, okay? But that's something I determined. So I'm going to fall out and I owe fees for the semester, all right? But the good thing is I can enroll in my unit requirement for the future spring semester of 6 units before April 20th and automatically regain eligibility. That's how regain eligibility works. These examples are on our webpage. It's pretty simple and straightforward. All right. If for some reason you're outside of the regain eligibility concepts, there's a thing that we created called SMC Promise Special Consideration. This is for anybody who usually is not eligible for SMC Promise. It's a review process. It's not guaranteed, but we will review your file. Let's go into the information here. SMC Promise Special Consideration. It's a review process as I did state, to potentially gain eligibility for students who are no longer eligible, or this says ineligible status. Okay. Most students that are here that were invited, you are eligible. Either you haven't opted in, or you're missing the requirement, and or you've opted in and you're meeting all the requirements, okay? You have extenuating circumstances. There are some times where students become eligible because extenuating circumstances, something happened with their family, themselves, their job, whatever it may be, okay? Or you do not meet the basic SMC Promise eligibility criteria. Most of the students are going to fall under the third bullet point here, which means if you're not meeting the basic eligibility criteria, you didn't graduate high school this past 2025. Let's say I graduated from Santa Monica High School in California in summer of 2024, and I decided to take a whole year to attend college, and I attend SMC as a first-time student. There's a review process, and that's the process that we created called Special Consideration. If you fall within any of that, you can email us, include your name and your SMC ID number. We'll review your file to determine whether you just need to regain eligibility or there's a process. We have to ask further background questions. That is the special consideration process, and we review your file to determine if we can give you eligibility. Once again, it's not guaranteed that you will gain eligibility for the SMC Promise, but your file will be reviewed and we can potentially get you back in and or just get you in, okay? Email the Welcome Center at smc.edu. All requests of special consideration. This is for a student. We're looking at the yellow arrow, SMC Promise status. This student just is not meeting the basic eligibility criteria at all, right? So if they get this, you would reach out and send an email to the Welcome Center, and we'll review your file and go further into what your best course of action would be. If you want to contact us, email welcomecenter@smc.edu. We're extremely proficient in returning emails. We do return them on a first come, first served basis. We do have hundreds of them, but we usually return them within 7 to 10 business days. We're pretty much on top of that. Also with our phone numbers, 434-8101, that's 310 area code. Also, we'll return those in a timely manner. And once again, our website is there and all our information is on our website. Good luck, SMC Promise students. From us, your beloved SMC Promise team. And here is the next part of this, is the best part for students, which is the Q&A question and answer session. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop recording. I'm going to stop sharing also. Let me get to this. I do apologize. I don't even know where the recording area is. Thank you. I appreciate you all being here. Please hang on for the question and answer section. My name is Josh Casillas on behalf of AJ and Ariana and Angela Lee. Thank you for attending the SMC Promise seminars.